Good morning. It's Parshas Toldos, and I'm starting to once again give these videos to the greater community, hoping that you will, if you find them interesting, informative, you'll share them with others. For various technical reasons, I've been put into limbo by opponents of Chabad. At 5-6 years ago, objected to a misnagid who told his community that if they ate or if they cooked shor habor meat, that they had to kasher their dishes. That same misnagid went over to a younger man and his wife who opened up a carry-out store, a number of carry-out stores in the Detroit area, and told them point blank that he does not want to see shor habor in their case. I know the name of the person. I choose not to identify him. There's always the hope that a person can do tshuva. But as a result of my protest, the then head of the Vad decided that he was going to relegate my videos to comedy, and that was that's where I found my videos placed for months. Try to wonder why the numbers of people viewing them were less than before, and I realized why. I did change my designation, but audiences are fickle. You have to have a continuous flow with audiences. But in my visit to Crown Heights, there were several of you out there that said you view my videos and find them informative. If that's the case, so let it be. Let things roll as they come. I do object to anyone who says that the shor habor, that lebavit shchita, that there's anything wrong with it. The people at shor habor have been very, very cooperative, and in my investigation subsequently, all of the bad-mouthing has been proven to be false. It's unfortunate that people try to badmouth another group for their hashgacha, for their shchita, in order to get traction for their own. It's very sad indeed. For those of you out there, the shor habor employs lubavitcher shochtim, lubavitcher mashgichim, and they are, to my knowledge, great yirei shamayim and knowledgeable in their field. I employ once a year one of them for the kaparas in the city, and I can tell you from my experience for the last 25 years that he is an exceptional shochet. He is sought after by all the community at large, all the Orthodox community, and any kind of deficiencies that have crept into Chabad shochtim over the last few years, he is rooting them out and making the standards of Chabad shchita the way they were when I first got married, when everybody knew that the best shochtim in America, the best shochtim in Russia, were Lubavitcher shochtim. I heard this from the Nerola Rav. Nerola Rav, Rav Chaim Meir Shapiro, told me that you saw Shimon Kalmanson, Uziel, Chazanov. They were the best shochtim in Samarkand. Everybody knew that they were the best shochtim. No matter what group they were, everybody wanted their shchita. And they had, of course, Tzemach Gurevich, the son of the holy Rabbi Yitzchak Masmid, Heshket Zeitlin, Leibel Volovik, the Morozovs, the Zalman Morozov. These people were the most incredible shochtim, yirei shamayim, that one could imagine. And to go ahead and to say something like that particular Rav said is unconscionable. And, you know, I'm not going to go any further than that, just as hurtful. Today's parsha of Toldos has, of course, the question. Yesterday we read how Yitzchak wanted to bench Esav. And the question is, why would he want to bench Esav? Esav, Weish Yudeya, Tzayidish Sode, Yankovish Tam Yoshev Aholim, the halls of Shem and Aver. The answer that's given in Chassidus is that Yitzchak didn't just see Esav as he was. Esav as he was a dirty good for nothing. But Esav as he was potentially. He was the son of Yitzchak and the son of Rivka, and he had this incredible potential that, if unleashed, would be incredibly great for himself and for the world. And the standard answer in Chassidus is that although his potential was there was no way he could himself reach that potential. He needed someone intervening within his life, and that was Yaakov. Yaakov knew how to find and to elicit and to inspire and to cause the potential of Esav to blossom. And therefore, that was what Yitzchak was missing. The question is, how is it possible that a tzaddik like Yitzchak, who was given the power to bless by none other than God himself, should miss that? It isn't just the Ruach HaKodesh of the Avos, even their intuitions, even their intuitive motions and movements were also divinely inspired. How is it that Yitzchak is drawn to the potential of Esav, and there has to be an event that blocks this in order for this to actually take place? In other words, if Rivka did not intervene, and she had it right, then how is it that Yitzchak, our second patriarch, the one who put his neck out for the Akedah, how does he get it wrong? How is that possible? And obviously, Yitzchak didn't want to get this wrong. And obviously, Yitzchak did not want to hurt Yaakov. Yaakov was his son, who was giving him so much pleasure. I'm sure that when he came home from the yeshiva of Shem and Aver with a perfect report card, with perfect attendance, that this gave Yitzchak and Rivka great pleasure. How is it that he would deny the better son the blessings? So the first thing you have to realize is that there are channels in heaven that are real and true, and they may not be the ultimate truth. Truth and ultimate truth exist side by side in heaven. The famous example, of course, is Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer argues with the Chachamim in Bava Metzia, and he says, if the law's like me, let the heavens tell you. And a voice from heaven goes out and says, what are you arguing with my son Eliezer? Everything he says is correct. And it says, Omad Rabbi Yeshua al Raglov. Rabbi Yeshua stood up to the heavens and said, Loi bashomayim, it is not in the heavens. The Torah is not in the heavens, and the results of halacha cannot be argued in heaven. But the question is, you're hearing a voice from heaven. How can you argue with that? And the answer is, a voice from heaven is true, but it's not the ultimate truth. It is a relativistic truth. It's like the story of relativity, that everything depends upon your perspective. From the perspective of Rabbi Eliezer, he was telling the truth. But that didn't mean that his position was the ultimate truth. From his perspective, everything he said was true. But it wasn't the ultimate truth. And so too with Yitzchak. Everything he opined, everything he sensed was his truth. But it wasn't the ultimate truth. Why would there be an ultimate truth that was elusive? And the answer, of course, is that there are things that even to the greatest prophet are concealed, and they have to be played out. And they have to be played out with the self-sacrifice and the service of the individual. The child of the Shunamis woman died. Had she not beseeched Elisha to enliven him, Elisha would not have known. The child would have died. And Elisha says, God concealed this from me. So even though Elisha was, relatively speaking, an all-seeing man, he was the prophet of God. Nonetheless, this was not something that was apparent to him. It required the service of the Shunamis woman. The same thing is true with the blessings of Yitzchak. The blessings of Yitzchak have within them the core of the development of mankind and the conclusion that will come at the time of Mashiach. We say these blessings every Saturday night, and we recognize that the source of these blessings is incredibly high, and the purpose of the blessing is to bring completion to our people and to the world. And we've gone through many, many tragedies, triumphs. Why is it so complicated? Why can't it be so simple? Because God wants the service of the individual. And without the service of the individual, the ultimate divination, the ultimate level of revelation will not take place. God needed to see the self-sacrifice of Jacob. That Jacob should want the blessings, should want the blessings even if they weren't directed toward him. And that's the reason why it went through the deception. Because Jacob, the thing he couldn't stand more than anything else was deception. He had to live 20 years with Lavan, with Laban, his father-in-law, who deceived him over and over again on a daily basis. Changed his contract 100 times, but on a daily basis continued to lie and to cheat and to steal and so on. It was the most frustrating thing for Yaakov to have to live through. And here Yaakov, who can't stand people who are deviant, has to be deviant with his father. And one question that everybody asks at the beginning of the Torah portion, God tells Rivka that there's two different nations in your belly, Two kings will separate from the womb, and each one will overwhelm the other. But in the end, V'rav ya'avod tza'ir, the older will serve the younger. So Rivka had it as a prophecy that the younger will be victorious in the end. Why doesn't Rivka tell this to Yitzchak, avoiding all of the tsaras that Yaakov later has in his life and the Jewish people have later from Amalek? And the answer is prophecy is for the person receiving the prophecy only. If you're receiving prophecy, it's not for you to tell about that prophecy. It's only if you've been instructed to tell the prophecy. And that's why in the majority, the vast majority of communication between Hashem and Moshe, it says Vayemer or Vayedaber Hashem El Moshe Lemor. It says Lemor, say it. Unless the prophet has said Lemor, then that prophecy is for you to know and no one else. And the prophecy that God tells Rivka about the primacy of the younger child, it says, Vayomer Hashem lo, and God said to her, doesn't say Lemor. It was for her to know, and no one else. And she understood, she knew the prophecy, and she would have to do something about it. That's the secret of what went on. There are relative truths. There are relative truths. And there are ultimate truths. There is a relative truth, we're living through that now, that there is what appears to be innocent population suffering as a result of war. And in calls for fairness, demands are made of Israel to make humanitarian pauses for the sake of innocent civilians. Whether they're really so innocent is irrelevant. It appears to be innocent in the eyes of the beholder. That is a perspective, and it is a true perspective. There's another true perspective from a military standpoint. Any pause allows Hamas to rearm and to make another attack and another attack, and to prevent them from being wiped out. That's also a truth. And the question is, of course, which truth will carry the day? There is no ultimate truth that we ourselves are privy to. The only ultimate truth that we have is the truth of the Torah. And there we have demonstrated what God says is the ultimate truth. Jacob is the more righteous son. Jacob should be deserving of the blessing, but wasn't going to be getting it. But he got it anyway. Righteousness was served. Justice was served. I'm sure that Esav and his descendants did not feel that way. In our scenario, we have to have compassion for those who are injured, those who die as a result of military activity, only because the human heart does not want people to suffer excessively. But it is true that Israel cannot allow Hamas to gain any edge, to gain any kind of breath of fresh air so that they can rearm and counterattack. Because that's what Hamas will do. The job of a general is to protect his soldiers. By sending them to battle, he knows some of them will die, but he has no choice. But he certainly cannot put them into harm's way. So that's the juggling act, and I don't know the ultimate answer. I do know that the Torah says that when you surround a city that's doing war with you, you surround it and cut it off from supplies till you destroy it or they accept defeat. Ceasefire in Torah is not an option. And I believe that that's the ultimate truth.